Hello everyone, welcome to a new video for SUI price prediction based on Elliott wave analysis. We're gonna start with SUI on the daily here, where we have of course our bullish scenario 1-2, 1-2 and potential wave 3 to unfold toward the upside. Another scenario is a 1, 2, 3, 4 and a 5 leading diagonal wave 5 to be unfolding, and final scenario as bullish is of course 3 waves up for wave A, finish 3 waves for wave B, and we continue up for a wave C toward the upside again. Those are the 3 main bullish scenarios that they might unfold as an impulsive wave upward. However, we are looking currently at this potential pattern here where we potentially have 1-2, another 1-2. Now this second 1-2 has took so much time, of course, before unfolding this move toward the upside. On SUI, we took the low even here as a potential 5 waves kind of, but of course it's not motive waves. It can be, of course, a 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5, but still the wave 4 looking longer than the wave 2, meaning it is a doubtful diagonal here to be called as 1, 2, and then 3, 4, 5. Now, basically, I still can call this as a 1, 2. The time is not invalidation, never been invalidation. It's simply a guideline. And of course, a complex structure can still be possible, of course, in a wave 2, especially when you get, of course, a little bit of hesitation and, of course, confusion in the market, depending of course on the psychology and the news. So basically what we have right now is a new low for SUI, and we start to see kind of like something moving for higher. Now before diving deeper inside it, I would like to mention, what if we have a longer wave B, meaning what if we have an A, B, and a C here, and of course after having a zigzag as double impulses, you start to get something for lower in a deeper wave B. Now the case scenario might be here, of course, the 1, 2 as mentioned as a leading diagonal downward, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, wave 2, and then 3, 4, and a 5 for wave B. That would be, of course, the only bearish scenario or a very deep correction that we might have here, of course, as 3 waves and then 5 waves downward. So let's dive deeper before going with this scenarios. I believe still, of course, the highest potential is still for the bullish, of course, since we have 3 bullish scenario, but don't forget that the bearish can still, of course, kind of show some potential. We're gonna see it, of course, definitely if we are bearish by breaking, of course, this low. Yeah, again, if we continue further for lower, potentially we still can be going to the 0.786, 0.618, which is the last hope for a wave 1, 2 here, and then start the move toward the upside. So let's move inside it on the 2 hours chart here. So basically, if we are in a 1, 2, this is totally fine. This is another impulse here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5, wave 1, okay, totally fine with the impulses. However, the problem right now is with this corrective wave, which is messy, I would say, and very, very chaotic, but still can be a potential, of course, of a diagonal. Never forget this, knowing that, yeah, the wave 4 looks a little bit longer than the wave 2, but still can be, of course, it is a 5 waves since you took the low here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5. Now, in case we get a wave 2 here, potentially it might place as a 1, 2, and then 3, 4, 5 downward. So we gotta be careful with it. Now, a good thing about it also that reduces the possibility of this leading diagonal is that you have a zigzag wave 1, zigzag wave 3, and you have an impulse as a wave 5, which is not allowed. And this is, of course, reduce so much the possibility, of course, for this scenario. The only scenario still having for this testing area, in case we are still looking for lower, is of course a W, X, and a Y here. The wave Y might be, of course, a zigzag, and that's why you are looking at an impulse, potential correction, wave B, and then wave C towards the downside. Now, in case that we have finished a wave 2 over there, you have to count somehow an ABC. Yeah, so we have to call an A, ABC for a wave B here, and you have finished wave C. So the A has to be here as, of course, an impulse kind of, or like 3 waves can be regular flat. The wave B is a running flat, which is very rare case, but still can be. All right, and then finishing with a wave C as an impulse here to finish up, of course, a wave 2 within a wave C as well. And yeah, by taking the low can be, of course, the signal that you have finished, of course, this wave 2 and you are ready to move toward the upside. Now, for more answers for this, if we move in the micro level on that very low that we got exactly over there, so we're gonna analyze exactly after taking the low here. Now, if we want to count this as an impulse, definitely it can be a wave 1, ABC wave 2. Now, this wave 2 has took the 886, lowering the possibility, of course, for an impulse wave 3. Now, wave 3, of course, if this is a wave 3, if we counted 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5, where is it? Right? So, invalidation, there is no wave 3. So, if you want to call this, keep it as a 1, 2. Another 1, 2, even it's hard to call it, yeah, because you don't have 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5. You have simply 3 waves towards the upside. After this, we see, of course, a very long sideways, or even like moving downward a little bit, but very corrective. And we see, of course, higher prices again. Now, these higher prices, even if we want to call it as an impulsive wave 3 somehow, you can see that you have here a potential 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5. Okay, so the only possible way to call a 1, 2 here is through this very shallow correction. And if we take the fib levels taken from the wave 1 to the 2 here, you see that the 0.38 is not even hit. So it's very low possibility that this might be a wave 2 even. And I believe that this is simply, of course, a kind of like a ABC, can be a zigzag here, or a very complex structure where we have an A, B, and a C, right? So this is what I'm looking for in this area actually. And for this target, I'm looking for the 1.618. In case that this is really unfolding as something like big 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5, well, I need to see, of course, this area. I need to see and test the area here to see the 0.38 and the 0.5, which is in confluence with the 1.618. Of course, 1.618 can be an extended wave C. Don't forget, this can be an A, B, and a C still there. So I'm gonna mark this so far because, of course, of the micro level are very corrective. Nothing, of course, signaling a very pure, healthy impulse toward the upside. Yeah. So the thing is, of course, as also expected, we might see a rebound. We need, of course, a correction. You have finished kind of an impulse downward, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You finish 5 ways, impulsive, clear impulse, and you start, of course, to see kind of like a rebound toward the upside. Internally, you have nothing bullish, you know, yet. 1, 2, 1, 2. Well, wave 3, 4, and a 5, 4, and a 5. Even this wave as a wave 1 is very hard to call it. Okay, so therefore it's very hard to be like pure bullish here. It can be, of course, an ABC. We're gonna test this area. 0.38 is minimum anyway requirement, and we might start to see, of course, something moving towards the downside very soon. That was it for SUI. Let's move for a render. So for render also, I'm gonna start directly on the 2 hour chart because the bullish scenarios on the daily already given with the last video. You can go for it, of course, find it, and you will find the bullish scenarios on the daily. Now, currently, we are looking at here a potential 1, 2, 1, 2, right? If we are bullish 1, 2, and another 1, 2. However, the momentum of a double 1, 2 is very low here. Unless, of course, you are simply in a big wave 1, 2, wave 3 towards the upside. The wave 3 is, of course, a 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5. Another possibility, of course, is after having this corrective wave here toward the downside as a wave A, you got a triangle A, B, C, D, and an E. And then we start to move impulsively downward for a wave C, meaning an A, B, and a C is unfolding, of course, for a render here. Now, the thing is that if we gonna keep the bullish potential here, and we're talking about this as a wave 1, we have a potential here 3 waves down, which is very corrective, of course. W, you have the X, and you have a wave Y here as a zigzag. What I don't like is that the W and the zigzag, it doesn't match so much, but still fine, of course, can be possible as W, X, and a Y. Another possibility, of course, can be an A, B, and a C, and that's because we are looking at an impulse here, finishing up a wave C potentially without taking the low. Very interesting that we did not take the low there, which is a little bit questionable. Now, of course, we see that this can be, of course, a potential wave 2, or it can be confirmation even for lower, because if we continue impulsively 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5, after reaching a wave 2 here, you might see, of course, confirmation for lower after hitting, of course, the target. Meaning on the lower time frame here on the 1 hour chart, we are looking potentially after this low here, you start to see, of course, 3 waves toward the upside, 3 waves down, and currently you might be looking at a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and is an expanding flat A, B, and a C. A, B, and a C for a wave 2. I'm gonna test this area, of course, and as you can see, this target has been given already before, and it might be, of course, even a little bit higher to test, of course, or to take the minimum requirement for a wave 2, especially after an impulse 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5, A, B, and a C wave 2, and then continuation toward the downside. So we gotta be careful. We have to keep in mind, of course, that that might be bearish here, and of course, not just be blinded with bullish all the time, as I mentioned on the channel. In case that this is a wave 1, 2 here, if we dive a little bit in the micro levels, of course, you got a 0.38, which is good. Of course, if you want to consider this as a 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5, and can be, of course, a 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5 over there, unfolding for a 1, a 2, and then 3, 4, 5, even for higher prices for render. So by all means, of course, again, the altcoins might be looking, of course, for a little bit higher prices, but I don't see it as a full big bullish scenario. I see it simply as a rebound a little bit for higher prices. This in render can be an ABC, and so we can be, of course, a zigzag, and of course we're gonna see the next one, which is FET. Now for FET, for the daily, of course, we are very bullish as well, and we still have, of course, one bearish scenario that it might be unfolding for a deeper wave C, which it might be, of course, after 3 waves down. You have here kind of like a triangle or a corrective wave, and then you continue simply downward, right? So currently, you can count this as an impulse as a wave 1. Now, this looks, of course, like kind of like 5 waves. However, it cannot be a clean motive wave, meaning you cannot consider this as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Diagonal wave 5 is longer than the wave 3. Also, it cannot be impulse because the wave 4 interfere with the zone 1. It cannot be triple 1-2s. Of course, you already took the low over there, meaning this is corrective, right? Still corrective and still looking for higher sooner or later. Now, the question mark is, did we finish this correction or not yet? Because if we are considering this as an A, B, and a C, the wave C can be, of course, already a finished diagonal here as a 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5. However, the wave 1 is a zigzag, the wave 3 is a zigzag, and the wave 5 also can be a zigzag. But if we still will get one more low, this is gonna transform to an impulse, which is, of course, opening a question mark there. Now, that means, of course, you should have finished a wave 2, but without taking the low. This is a problem. So the problem is that you didn't take the low. It is kind of truncated. Can be, of course, a signal of strands, but the problem is on the 15-minute chart again. If we take a look here closer, after this low, let's say this is a 1-2, and this is another 1-2, wave 3, wave 4, invalidation. I don't see yet, of course, a finished impulse. This is a problem, and if you want to count several 1-2s, again, that is a very, very low possibility. By all means, all what I'm looking at here is a potential simply correction, and we might still look for higher to finish up simply this correction. The end of this correction might be an ABC for a wave A, an ABC for a wave B, and a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for a wave C. The target that I'm looking for is the blue box again. Of course, 0.38 is the minimum target, and especially, of course, after a potential impulse here of 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5, potentially can be 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5. Continuation for a longer impulse downward, and this might transform this into 3 ways down, 3 ways up, and a potential here 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5 can be, of course, a diagonal, but still, of course, a very doubtful. And that because, of course, of the shapes that we are looking at exactly in this wave 1 as zigzag, wave 3 zigzag, and here it start to be an impulse. So a lot of confusion in the market, a lot of hesitation we see. Even I don't see yet a very clean, pure, healthy, bullish scenario unfolding over there, and that because of the start of this trend toward the upside or rebound is very corrective. Therefore, I'm gonna test this area and I'm gonna make a decision from this area, of course, if we continue for bullish or not, but very likely that we are not in a bullish scenario yet. We still, of course, confused. We might simply continue the trend downward, guys. That was it for SUI, Render, and FT. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your likes and comments. See you in the next one. Bye bye.